Sorry.
And I am Portia Gabo. Coming up, the headlines.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by Deluxy Acrylic Paint,
Heaven Insecticide Spray and Coil,
and Napa Foods.
Minority in Parliament rejects new constitutional instrument on the registration of voters regulations, arguing that it could undermine Ghana's democracy.
Ghana Health Service cautions against contact with rodents after confirmation of 12 additional cases of Lassa fever, bringing total number of cases to 14 with one death.
Also in the bulletin tonight, we'll take you to Nigeria, where Bola Tinubu has been declared president-elect amidst but opposition Labour Party serves notice to mount legal challenge.
In business news, former Finance Minister Seth Terkper says Ghana's debt woes far from over despite successfully completing the domestic debt restructuring.
Elsewhere on the international front, rescue workers are searching for survivors after a head-on collision between two trains in central Greece killed dozens of people and left scores injured. We've got details of all these stories plus many more coming up in the next 60 minutes. Remember, we're streaming live on Facebook. We're also live on your DSTV channel 279. Let's begin with matters in Parliament, where the minority has rejected the new constitutional instrument on the registration of voters regulations, arguing that it could undermine the country's democracy and disturb its peace and security. At a news conference in Parliament, the group says it intends to engage stakeholders, including development partners, faith-based organizations, traditional and civil society groups on the matter.
The proposed CI, which makes the Ghana card the sole requirement for voter registration, serves as a restraint on citizens' right to register and exercise their franchise in elections. The Electoral Commission is to undertake programs for the expansion of the registration of voters. Instead, the EC rather seeks to undertake a program for the restriction of the registration of voters.
Dr. Kesela Tuforsen said the Electoral Commission has not provided sufficient grounds for the removal of the guarantor system in the voter registration process, arguing it is a deliberate plot to deprive millions of Ghanaians from getting their names onto the electoral roll.
It is therefore unclear to us what mischief the Electoral Commission is seeking to cure by relying solely on the Ghana card as a source document for the registration of voters, yet intends to completely outlaw the guarantor system, which constituted about 40% of Ghana card registration. We hold the view that the time-tested guarantor system must be maintained in our voter registration processes, and this position is absolutely non-negotiable. The suspicion of collusion by the ruling party and the Electoral Commission to rig the election for the ruling party continues to drive the situation towards dispute and potential violence. The Minority Caucus in the coming days will collaborate with the National Democratic Congress to hold a major forum on this subject. This will afford us an opportunity to further explain these issues for the understanding of the Ghanaian populace. The minority group in Parliament will in the coming days be engaging a broad spectrum of stakeholders, including our developing partners, faith-based organizations, traditional authorities, civil society organizations, to get them to appreciate the issue at stake.
It's a pretty much developing story. Let's stay a while longer on this subject. We're joined on the phone lines by the Member of Parliament for Tamale South and former Minority Leader, Haruna Idrisu. Thank you very much, Mr. Haruna, for your time, and good to have your News 360. Now, it may be obvious that what the position of the minority is on this matter. Clearly, it's very obvious. But can you, for purposes of clarification, tell us exactly what you are arguing for?
Ghana is committed to sustaining multi-party constitutional democracy. And one of the pivots of constitutionalism is respect for fundamental freedoms and human rights, in particular, the right to vote and the right to be voted for enshrined in Article 42 of the Constitution. Parliament remains an institution which globally is a guardian and protector of fundamental human rights and freedoms. The Electoral Commission of Ghana is seeking to introduce a new constitutional instrument that makes only the Ghana card a reference document for purpose of getting onto the voter register. Credible voter register is a sine qua non to the conduct of free, fair, credible elections. The NDC is simply saying, the minority in parliament is simply saying that there is nothing fundamentally, legally, and constitutional wrong with the current CI 126, which is governing elections in Ghana. There's nothing wrong with it, because in that document, you can use Ghana card, you can use a Ghanaian passport, and you can use a voter register. So we are simply asking the Electoral Commission of Ghana, how come that in 2021, 2022, 2023, Ghanaians who have attained 18 years, including your younger brother, has not been given the right to get registered as a voter, maybe to vote out an unpopular government, an unpopular Nana Akufo-Addo government, maybe. Why will you deny anybody that right? Because they could have undertaken the exercise using the existing constitutional instrument. Now they are insisting that Ghana card, assume that, yes, Ghana card. The Electoral Commission took money, $80 million, to take biometric data of Ghanaians. What has happened to their data? What has happened to the voter ID card? That the same Electoral Commission voter ID card cannot even be used for purpose of guaranteeing for someone. So, assuming you had a voter card, your younger brother, for some reason, is struggling to get registered. Can't you use your card to say that this is my younger brother, born, bred in Ghana, allow him to register? Because the citizenship of him cannot be defined narrowly, only by a Ghana card. Then two, we are also objecting to the fact that polling stations, both in the constitutional instrument and in the NIA regulations of 2011, a polling station is defined as a place for purpose of registration and for purpose of voting. The Electoral Commission is seeking to say that come to our district offices to come and register to vote. If you go to Bole as a constituency, Babato is probably 40-50 kilometers away from Bole district. How do you expect somebody to travel from Babato to come and get registered in Bole district? And on election day, the person may not know where to vote. The idea is that if you allow me to register at my polling station, then I know on election day, this is where I will exercise my vote. It is true that sometimes registration can be done. Then they also say they want to do continuous register. How come 2021, 22, 23, they did not do continuous voter register? Then Parkway say, a very important technical point. I would give you Hansard as my reference. For the last 5 to 10 years, I have said that there is a problem of data harmonization and synchronization in Ghana because we are all keeping silos of data. Electoral Commission, biometric, bring it. NIA, biometric, bring it. SIM, biometric, bring it. Where in the world do you keep taking people's biometric? For what purpose? Your biodata is unique to the individual. And once you take it, it is the uniqueness of it which distinguishes you from me.
I get that very well, Mr. Idrisu, but the argument that some 3 million or so Ghanaians could have been disenfranchised using the 2020 electoral data as a case study for many is not a strong reason enough, especially if using the Ghana card guarantees a foolproof election.
And we want foolproof elections, but a denial of the right to vote and the right to be voted for can be fatal for the sustenance of our democracy. I'll give you an example. The chairperson, G. Mensah, traveled to Nigeria at the weekend. You are aware. Did she travel to Nigeria on a Ghana card? Answer, and let her answer. She went on a Ghanaian passport as a Ghanaian citizen. She is saying that nobody, no Ghanaian, including Ghanaians who are currently abroad, assuming your younger brother or uncle is in the U.S., who comes to Ghana, and he arrives in his village the day NIA is closing the process of registration, and he says, I'm a citizen, this is my passport, must he be denied the opportunity to get onto our electoral roll? You will be denying him the sacred right to vote and to register to be voted for. I give you an interesting example. Today, district assembly elections will be held in Ghana. So if your host brother was 17 years in 2020, he now qualifies almost 21 years. 2021, 22, 23. He now almost is getting to the age of 21 when he qualifies to use it to be voted for as MP. You are denying him that right because a requirement in the Ghanaian constitution, you can go to Article 94 and others, is that you must be a registered voter. A registered voter. 2021, 22, 23, G. Mensah, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, have denied Ghanaians the legitimate bona fide right as citizens of Ghana to get onto our electoral roll. I can only look forward to a Ghana where on daily basis, any Ghanaian who attains 18 years can walk to any office or polling station as so created to get registered. That is what you call mainstreaming of ICT in our public national life. That's what proper mainstreaming means. Even for purposes, and then I also ask, I hope that you allow me just one other minute to state this point. Everywhere in the world, you must have what we call infrastructure for data sharing. She herself answered that there's no such infrastructure. So when she takes your national ID card PIN, it cannot sit in sync with the PIN at the Electoral Commission. That would be programmatic, and that can give us some technical problems. Now, finally, Parkwisi, G. Mensah told the Ghanaian public yesterday that in 2020, 13 million Ghanaians voted out of those who registered to vote, maybe 17 million. Out of the 13 million, 10 million use Ghana cards. 3 million use other references. Did that make the election an illegitimate election? And its outcome illegitimate? And that right to vote illegitimate? Certainly not. So there's nothing wrong with our prevailing system. We should keep the peace and unity of this country, keep our commitment to our democracy. We can all wait till a day that both EC and NIA can come and tell you, maybe at TV3, not just Parliament, that look, every eligible Ghanaian of voting age has a national ID card.
My very final question, Mr. Iddrisu, and if you could make it very snappy for me, if the Electoral Commission maintains its position and decides to go ahead with this, what will the NDC do?
I'm sure the party will take a decision which is appropriate. Which decision will be to fight to preserve the democracy and to preserve the rights to vote and to guarantee it. And then, Parkwisi, we simply are saying that we cherish the rights to vote and we will protect that right as a sacred right guaranteed under Article 42. You see,
I thank you very much.
You are talking about consummation of rights. The practicality of it is always important. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Haruna Iddrisu is former minority leader and also now a member of parliament for Tamale South.
Let's now focus on the elections in Nigeria, as earlier Bola Tinubu was declared president-elect with 37% of the votes. Let's cross over live to Abuja, where my colleague Komla Kluche is standing by. Thank you so much for your time, Komla. Now the president-elect has received his certificate of returns from INEC. How are Nigerians celebrating his over 8 million votes victory.
Many thanks to you. Well, I mean,
celebrating his victory.
The reactions on the street of Nigeria, well, I mean, the streets have been very quiet. Honestly, people are still expressing their misgivings about why the economic conditions continue when they are supposed to actually be enjoying, so to speak, this particular victory. Even members of the APC are unable to actually even do so. Tinubu himself was at the Coalition Center today early on to pick up his certificate of returns together with his vice presidential candidate. But I mean, on the strength of it, or on the whole, I mean, the unusual scene of no jubilation that has rocked major parts of Nigeria, despite an over 8 million votes victory by the 70-year-old Bola Tinubu. The streets have been usually quiet, with most Nigerians expressing disappointment at the economic woes and hardship they are enduring.
That Tinubu Bola Ahmed of the APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned.
14 hours after the declaration of the APC's Bola Tinubu as the president-elect of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, well, this is how the street looks. Less jubilations on the street. The streets are quiet. Most of the people, yes, even though they are going about their normal duties, you know, comparing the 2023 elections to the 2015 election was across the street. People poured onto the street, jubilant mood, they were happy. The situation is different. This is what the people have been saying. Why are we not hearing the same say baba this time?
The reason why you see that very time, that 2015, you know, Nigeria were not like this, if you really look at it. In this 2023 election, if you watch, it's not going well. So nobody can come out on the street and jubilate. Because if you watch, this election has been ringing. This is a ringing election. How can you expect somebody that did not win? Just like what is happening in Taraba State. We are all seeing it. 2023 election is, there is nothing, there is, Tinubu did not win. APC did not win this election. Everybody knew that. So we are waiting. And they have announced it that APC have won. In what ground? We are Nigerians. Let's stand for, let's come out and fight for our right. Somebody cannot come out from nowhere and say he has won the election. For what? On what ground? And our elders are seeing all these things happening. Look at we now, we are suffering. Nobody's happy. That's why nobody's jubilating. Nobody's happy.
Well, the reason we jubilate now, is the situation of the country. For me, even money to see transport, to go for where we register the vote at Masaka, no transport. And everybody is scared away. It's still standard. We are still praying, though. We are praying for the better nation, better government. Let this be easy. Like for me, this is how I do to feed my children. I have 2 graduates at home, no job.
So all the Nigeria entirely, everybody know the truth. And if you know the truth, that is why you see that many people are not jubilating. Because the system of APC have tired Nigeria.
But why are you not on the street jubilating? 2015 you were jubilating. You were all out there saying, say Baba, say Baba. Why are you not doing the same thing compared to this one?
Yes, we are not doing it because the system is too hard for each and every one of us. You can see fuel scarcity. You can see money scarcity. You know how if even you that you are interviewing now, you know, you feel it in yourself, by yourself also. If you are not pretending.
Why there were no jubilations is because the election was closely contested, and before the election we knew it's going to be a tight one. So we believe it's assuming there was a clear favorite, there would have been jubilation, but most people don't want others to know the party they actually supported in the election. So I suppose, I guess, and I believe it's down to that.
Well, whilst all of this, pockets of demonstrations continue to go around the country regarding what they describe as the unfair treatment by INEC meted out to the people of Nigeria. Well, the APC has been responding in equal measure, indicating that if there is anything that anybody wants to do, well, the law court is there. However, they think the numbers they obtained cannot be challenged in court because he was an overwhelming endorsement by the people of Nigeria for the APC's candidate, Bola Tinubu.
If I was to say, I would advise that they need not do so. Because despite all the gaslighting we saw yesterday, like any election anywhere in the world, they all have their imperfections. We are a young democracy that is still growing. We also saw what happened with the American elections recently, the number of cases that went to court. But if, like they've been threatening, first it was a call for cancellation, but if they must, the law allows them to so do.
From the AYA runabout here in Asokoro, Komla Kluche, TV3 News, Abuja.
Komla, it's obvious that the president-elect has a huge task ahead in addressing the concerns of his own people. But what has been the posturing of opposition and interested groups?
They have been on the streets registering their displeasure. I mean, it's a second day of protest, but this time around they've taken it to where most of the international observer groups are housed. That's the Transcorp Hilton Hotel. That's where they've been demonstrating today. They said that these international observers have described the election as free and fair. But to them, they are sending a strong message that that position that they have is absolutely wrong. This is what they've been saying.
Last night to announce results. He was in a hurry to announce results in the middle of the night like a thief. Like a thief. Mahmoud Yakubu, like a thief, announced results in the middle of the night.
Why they asked us to come
back? Why they asked us to come back there, expecting that he would. Did he not say at the end of all this thing, he would go back and review the complaints? He knew what he was doing. Everybody saw that he was hurrying.
Multiplication and connivance with INEC in order to sustain the Nigerian people. And we are gathered here today to say no more election rigging. No. This particular election will be challenged through the democratic means with our level of agitation at the same time in the court of law. But as we do that, this particular congregation is happening around the 36th state of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Yes. So count and demand that the election that took place on the 25th of February should be presented to the Nigerian people. We are saying too, we have proof that votes were being allocated to states. Do not be under any illusion.
Okay, so well, with all of these demonstrations that are going on across the country, the president-elect, like I did say, he was at the National Coalition Center to pick up his certificate of returns. But as I speak, he's jetted off to the north to meet with the president himself, Muhammadu Buhari, in Katsina, where he voted. That is his home state. He needs to go to him and say thank you to him for the support he gave to him to be able to win this election. So, well, I mean, it tells you that, yes, he needs to be going around to be doing the thank you, but he has a daunting task to come at the 9.
Thank you so much for your time, Komla Kluche, reporting live from Abuja. And after receiving his certificate of returns, the president-elect gave an acceptance speech. Let's listen to him.
I say whether you are ratified or articulated, obedient, kwankwasia, or have any other political affiliation, you voted and struggled for a better Nigeria, more hopeful nation, and I thank you for your participation and dedication to our democracy. You decided to place your trust in the democratic vision of a Nigeria founded on a shared prosperity, and one nurtured by the ideas of unity, justice, peace, and tolerance.
Meanwhile, Nigeria's hugely contentious vote may have ended in election of the All Progressive Congress 70-year-old Bola Tinubu, but it sets in its wake a debate over the future of the perceived youth revolution in Nigerian politics, despite what appeared to be a groundswell of social media support for the losing candidate, Peter Obi. Now, what lessons can Ghana learn from the just-ended process with general elections in Ghana barely 2 years away?
The PDP is a peaceful party. We are not going to go into any violence. We are not going to go into any criminality or anything, but the right thing will have to be done.
Long, anxious wait. But results of Nigeria's election to select the 16th president will finally be declared.
Tinubu Bola Ahmed of the APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
Before then, protests and counter-protests broke out on the streets of Abuja and Lagos.
The right thing must be done. INEC chairman, you must step down, and the right thing must be done. We must use the beavers. We are tired of this sham. We are tired. We are tired. We continue.
The vast majority are also standing by INEC, and we are asking INEC to complete their job and say no to whatever agenda that a minute percentage of Nigerians, or whatever they call themselves, are actually agitating for. We are not cancelling this election.
Opposition candidates have sworn the electoral process was rigged and fraudulent.
The process is not transparent. The process is not credible. INEC is not sincere. INEC is colluding with the APC to defraud Nigerians.
President-elect Bola Tinubu has a huge task of uniting a divided nation with issues of insecurity, unemployment and jobs top of the agenda of most young people.
You voted and struggled for a better Nigeria, more hopeful nation, and I thank you for your participation and dedication to our democracy. You decided to place your trust in the democratic vision of a Nigeria founded on a shared prosperity, and one nurtured by the ideas of unity, justice, peace, and tolerance.
Bola Tinubu's 8.7 million votes, shading closest contenders Atiku Abubakar 6.9 million and Peter Obi 6.1 million, has sparked a debate over the future of a perceived youth revolution in Nigerian politics and the potential of a third force. For many, Peter Obi's seeming popularity on social media may have done the trick. But what lessons can Ghana learn? Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante is a political scientist at the University of Ghana.
You will get the appeal. After talk, people will talk and it will be empty talk. The real action is how they walk the talk. Translating the talk into real issue is the difficulty. He was there, he relied on the fact that about 42-43% of Nigerian youth, Nigerian population is the youth population, translating to about 166 million Nigerians. So if you have a whole chunk of them supporting you, particularly you are seeing your engagement with them on social media. So you rest in the hope that it will, translate into vote, I'm afraid.
And away from the elections in Nigeria, the Ghana Health Service is cautioning the public to avoid contact with rodents. This comes after 12 additional cases of Lassa fever were confirmed in the country, bringing the total number of cases to 14 with 1 death.
From Ebola, COVID-19, Marburg, monkeypox disease, and now Lassa fever, the world has seen an influx of diseases from animals being transferred to humans. The condition known as zoonosis has been attributed to the increase in contact between wild animals and humans.
It's because we are getting closer to these animals. People are keeping them as pets. Now we have urbanization. We are building into the forest. We are getting to where animals are. So the more we come closer to these animals, the more we have increase in number of cases of zoonosis.
Lassa fever is named after the town in Nigeria where the first case was confirmed in 1969. According to the Centers for Disease Control, it is an animal-borne or zoonotic acute viral illness spread by the common African rats. It's endemic in parts of West Africa, including Sierra Leone, Liberia, Guinea, and Nigeria. The reservoir or host of Lassa virus is a rodent known as the multi-mammate rat. Once infected, this rodent is able to excrete virus in urine for an extended period. The rats colonize human homes and areas where food is stored. Transmission of Lassa virus to humans occurs most commonly through ingestion or inhalation. Because the rodents often live in and around homes and scavenge on leftover human food items or poorly stored food, direct contact transmission is common. The rodents are sometimes consumed as a food source, and infection may occur when they are caught unprepared.
As for me, a hunter, if I kill an animal and the animal is sick, I can see it. We have some things that will appear in the body of that animal. So as for that animal, I'll throw it away or I'll bury the animal. I will not send the animal to the house.
Person-to-person transmission may also occur after exposure to virus in the blood, tissue, secretions or excretions of a Lassa virus-infected individual. On February 26, 2 initial cases were reported in Ghana. Now, the confirmed cases are 14 with 1 death. According to the Ghana Health Service, all 13 cases are alive and in stable condition and are being managed in designated health facilities. A total of 97 contacts have been identified and efforts are underway to identify more contacts. Meanwhile, a probable case has also been reported from the central region and contacts are being identified and monitored.
We are going to get more contacts because there's an exposure that occurred, I would say, about 10 days ago, and some of them are now converting to become cases. So what you need to do is be able to identify all contacts and follow them through so that when they become cases, they don't infect others.
The Ghana Health Service wants the public to avoid contact with rodents, ensure good environmental hygiene, and institute measures such as storing grain and other foodstuff in rodent-proof containers, disposing of garbage far from the home, maintaining clean households, and keeping cats to prevent rodent infestation.
Now to one of the most anticipated stories. Imagine visiting the grave of a loved one only to see the skeletal remains scattered around the tomb. No rest in peace. TV3's latest feature by Godwin Asediba reveals the heart-wrenching story on Ghana's creepiest public cemeteries. Here are excerpts, but viewer discretion is really advised.
Sunken graves, towering grass, and a total neglect. This is the picture of most public cemeteries in Ghana. With these conditions of graveyards, how are people supposed to pay respect to their buried loved ones? I visited some cemeteries in Kumasi and Accra to see firsthand the shocking state cemeteries are in. Not just the cemeteries, some mortuaries are also in a horrifying state. When you hear the term paying respect to the dead, it includes handling the deceased with dignity and respect, but that is lacking here. Kumasi is the Ashanti regional capital, and the Tafo Cemetery is the biggest public cemetery one can find here. Some parts of the cemetery is so saturated with human remains that bones have been rising to the ground surface.
Some 2 months ago, a mass burial was conducted here at the Tafo Cemetery, and this you can see right here is a human bone. This is not the only bone you will find here. If you walk around, the number of human bones that you will find here, this is really scary. But the workers in here will have to be seeing all these things while they try as much as they can to do their job. but they are paid meager salaries.
Salifu Abu, 52 years, has been working at the Tafo Cemetery since 1997. His colleague, 55-year-old Kweku Echampong, has also been working at the cemetery for the past 11 years. Their job is a strenuous and life-threatening one. Any little blunder here, and one is bound to contract infections from bones of the dead that has been buried for years. They do not have the right protective gear to put on while working. This has also been worsened by poor working conditions. Employed under the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, they are both paid a salary of 400 Ghana cedis a month, but government still owes them some outstanding arrears.
Up to now, no pay.
The documentary airs at 9 tonight. Do make a date. No rest for the dead.
No rest in peace. A reminder, you're still watching News 360, our major news bulletin, live from our studios here at Adesawe in Kanda, Accra. We're going to go for a short commercial break. When we return, we've got the very latest in the world of business.
Every day, you work hard, trying your best, without rest. You work hard night and day to get where you want. You never give up, because you know what you are. And we know it too. Say yes to property. Adoha is the key. Drop by our showroom, the place at Rowan Bridge, the new project, or give us a call at 030-2789-757.
This is the breaking news. About 2,500 people 2,500 people have been.
We'll be right back after a commercial break.
When stubborn coughs, colds, and catarrh interrupt your life, get fast relief with Stop Cough. The Stop Cough range is suitable for adults, children, and babies.
In today's breaking news, Alex is back and...
There is a Stop Cough for every cough and for everyone.
There surely is.
Ask your pharmacist about the right Stop Cough for you. The Stop Cough range is manufactured and distributed by NS Chemist Limited. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
What does money mean to you?
It means convenience. It gives me the ability to do business at my own pace.
It allows me to live my life with ease and enjoy my lifestyle without interruptions.
Security. I can make investments I can trust, and I know exactly where my money is all the time.
Having the flexibility to do what I want to.
The feeling and peace of mind I get knowing I can safely receive remittances from my family and friends from the comfort of my home. Money means safety.
Money means so many things to so many people, but no matter what you use it for or what it may mean to you, money is the one thing that keeps us going and makes our lives a little bit brighter. So what does money mean to you? Just Momo it.
MTN.
The business segment is brought to you by MTN.
Time now for the latest in the world of business news with Mama Ga de la Michelle Lefouin.
AMF for reform.
Okay. Former Finance Minister Seth Terkper has been speaking on the economy. What has he been talking about?
He's been looking at, of course, conversations with regard to the debt restructuring. If that is actually going to take us out of the woods, he has an answer to that.
All right, let's hear him.
Let's begin with former Finance Minister Seth Terkper, who says Ghana's debt crisis may be far from over despite an end to the domestic debt restructuring. According to him, any attempt to suggest the country is out of the woods following the debt swap will be disingenuous. Now, speaking to journalists from the base in the United States, the former minister said there is a lot more work to be done in order to secure a bailout program.
We still have debts to service. Remember that we excluded the bilaterals and the multilaterals because they are key, to the success of the restructuring, and we're only doing commercial. So those debts have to be honored. Secondly, we are still borrowing to finance the budget. And so those debts which are not within the restructuring have to be honored. And the only source, and provided Bank of Ghana can get a forex for the foreign exchange component, is that we have not come to a standstill in terms of debt service. Now we have, I think it will be a false impression to give that, we have resolved the debt issues. No, we have resolved the debt issues. We have even backtracked and said some, coupon payments will be made, some interest payments will be made, pensioners and the rest. We need money to repay. If GRA's money is not coming in, or GRA's money is not sufficient to meet the government expenditure, this is again where expenditure comes in. And I hope that we are not making a mistake of taking all of this, when we haven't done any restructuring and using it to finance the deficit. Then it means we are doing things the same way. The only thing is that it will be from a narrower base, and that's where the risk lies.
Away from that, economist Professor John Gachi says President Akufo-Addo's target to get IMF board approval for the much-needed bailout by the end of March is unrealistic. The Dean of Business School at the University of Cape Coast said concerns raised by the Paris Club members, coupled with China's refusal to be part of a creditor committee, would delay the approval process of the program.
Addressing diplomats at the Pediatric Lodge, President Akufo-Addo revealed that officials from Chinese Exim Bank are in Accra, engaging the Finance Ministry for a possible debt treatment. The meeting, the president is hopeful, will result in dealing with issues that may delay the IMF board approval.
I'm confident that with the cooperation we are receiving from members of the Paris Club and the People's Republic of China, which has sent a delegation from China's Exim Bank to Accra over the weekend to meet with officials of the Ministry of Finance, we shall be able to go to the board of the fund to conclude finally the agreement by the end of March.
But economist Professor John Gachi thinks the president is overly ambitious. He told 3 Business that Ghana would have to make some concessions before getting the buy-in of creditors.
Talking to China is not worthwhile. They have made people from the Exim Bank of China, and that means that a deal will be clinched. It's difficult to believe because if they come and they have some discussion, they will have to send it back for some consideration before a decision is taken.
Ghana's Eurobonds extended declines on Wednesday after the country missed a self-imposed deadline to restructure its bilateral debt, and S&P Global Ratings warned bondholders face larger losses than anticipated. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta wanted to reach a restructuring agreement with bilateral creditors by the end of February 2023 to help qualify for a $3 billion IMF program.
Meanwhile, 3 Business is learning that officials from China's Exim Bank and Ghana's Finance Ministry are locked up in a crunch meeting discussing Ghana's debt treatment request. The meeting discusses how China could offer some debt relief to Ghana to help reduce the country's debt burden. Government is seeking China to accept a debt swap, essentially to extend maturity and possibly reduce the country's interest burden. Ghana owes China some $1.7 billion businesses, making Beijing the country's biggest bilateral creditor. The country is seeking to restructure its external debt to secure board approval for the bailout from the IMF. While the Paris Club is willing to support Ghana, it wants to see a cut in government size and measures to tackle the government's wasteful expenditures first. In more business news this evening, the Ghana Association of Bankers has pledged to support women entrepreneurs through the Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa. The AFDB initiative, which was recently introduced in Ghana, will train and, of course, provide financing to Ghanaian banks to support women businesses with cheaper and flexible funding.
The Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa, AFAWA, is a pan-African initiative to bridge the $42 billion financing gap facing women in Africa. The initiative, which has been spearheaded by the Africa Development Bank, aims to support women entrepreneurs in Africa. The program, which has already been rolled out in Tanzania, will now kick off in Ghana, starting with 2 days of training and capacity building for banks to understand the need to finance women in business and also come up with tailored products to suit the needs of women entrepreneurs. AFAWA, through its implementing agency, AGF, will provide finance and risk guarantee to women SMEs through local banks and also partner with policymakers to provide the enabling environment for women entrepreneurs to thrive through regulation. President of the Ghana Association of Banks, Johnny Wah, said the initiative has the potential of growing the economy.
Because impact financing is becoming a big thing for the financial system for all of us and globally. So as banks, we are also interested in what our lending activity go to, the activities that the money that we give also go to. And we know when women run businesses, how their outputs or revenues are used. We know about how they contribute to the household, health, education.
And that's all the business news we have for you this evening. Log on to 3news.com for more business news. My name is Della Michelle. Yao Fosulabi standing by with sports. Stay with us after this break.
Water is life. Water gives life. Water moves through nature in a never-ending cycle. Observe the beauty of water as it flows all around us, refreshing and restoring. Gaze in wonder at the stillness and beauty of nature. There's harmony in nature everywhere around. Water revitalizes the body and keeps you going strong. Water is life. Water gives life. Drink Awake Purified Drinking Water, one for life. So relax and unwind, and in the calmness of nature, find the rest you desire. For every bottle of Awake you buy, an amount to be donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. This advert.
Sports segment is brought to you by
Consolidated Bank Ghana, CBG.
Fosulabi is here for the latest in the world of sport. New date for the All Africa Games, right?
Exactly, most definitely. New date for the Africa Games should happen next year in March, and so we are hoping that they actually make the time. So
give us the details.
Let's get straight to it now. And to our first story, the 2023 Africa Games, which was moved to 2024, will now 2024. The local organizing committee confirmed earlier today. Now, the announcement was made at a press conference on Tuesday at the end of a 2-day inspection exercise by the Africa Union Sports Council. 3 Sports' Daniel Yeboah has this report.
The multi-sport event has been hit with various challenges since Ghana were awarded the hosting rights back in 2018. The most prevalent issue has been with infrastructure, as most of the facilities are yet to be completed. The University of Ghana Stadium will serve as the center of the games, with complementary facilities to be constructed at Boteman to support. Local Organizing Committee Chairman Dr. Kweku Ofosu-Asare says Ghana has no option than to be ready by December.
The AU has given us this date. This date has been agreed by all the stakeholders. And so Ghana will have to work backwards and say, now this is February. So we have actually 1 year to get things done. We will have no excuses if we don't get our facilities ready.
Coordinator for African Union Sports Council, Dr. Deshios Chipande, also called on all stakeholders to help the host country, Ghana.
The African Union Commission would like to call upon all stakeholders that include African Union member states, sports confederations, sports councils, associations, the African Olympic committees, councils, and all potential partners and stakeholders to support the Republic of Ghana towards the hosting of very, very successful African Games in 2024.
Over 4,000 athletes from 54 African countries will converge in Ghana to compete in 25 sporting disciplines next March for the 15-day event.
Now some more stories and to the Ghana Premier League now, where Accra Great Olympics are just a few minutes away from beating sworn rivals Accra Hearts of Oak. The game is still ongoing at the Accra Sports Stadium in its final stages, with Olympics leading by a goal thanks to a second-half penalty by Samuel Ashikwe. If the result stays the same, Olympics will climb to 12th on 26 points, just 2 points behind Accra Hearts of Oak, who sit 6th. The last time Hearts beat Olympics was 3 years ago.
Referee whistles. Ashikwe steps up. Here's Ashikwe, and he sends Ayi the wrong way. Is the opening goal for Great Olympics. Olympics 1, Hearts 0 at the Accra Sports Stadium.
Also, the Manchester Derby is still happening at the Accra Sports Stadium. But earlier today, Kumasi Asante Kotoko closed the gap at the top of the Ghana Premier League to 5 points after a narrow win over Bechem United. An early goal from Enoch Morrison was enough to give the Porcupine Warriors all 3 points, who capitalized on the Diana Stars' goalless draw with King Faisal.
Kotoko come forward now. Kinful is committed up ahead. Yes, Infege decides to go down that right, twist and turn. Enoch! That is a trademark goal. Oh, he knows how to do this, and he does it with some sublime skill.
Yeah, clever little finish from Morrison. You don't allow him to cut onto his left foot. On the inside, he's that dangerous. He has that power. It's a lovely goal. Clever little finish from Morrison. Aqua can't close in on him. Cuts on onto his left, and look at that bullet.
Morrison's goal there. Immediately stepped inside. It was difficult for the Bechem United defender to mark him. To some more stories, and earlier this week, the Ghana Football Association confirmed that the league game between Accra Hearts of Oak and Kumasi Asante Kotoko will also serve as the President's Cup. Public Relations Officer Patrick Akoto says Galka had no other option due to the fixture congestion.
The decision to use the Super Clash as a form of the President's Cup is largely born out of fixture congestion. Everything about the league will go on according to plan. Galka only steps in after the final whistle, depending on the outcome of the match. So it means that the league, the broadcast holders will be in charge. But of course, we are still tossing with the idea of seeing, because it's the President's Cup and it must have a national appeal, and there must be accessibility for everybody to see their president and see the President's Cup. We are still in consultation with other principal stakeholders to see how we can fashion out a modality that will be convenient, for all. People are talking about this game a lot on social media. We are hopeful that it will translate onto numbers at the Accra Sports Stadium. This is the Tatapi class. This is the biggest football clash in our football calendar that we can ever get. It is always a Kotoko or a Hearts fixture, either in Accra or in Kumasi or even on a neutral ground. So we hope that we will be able to get enough numbers at the Accra Stadium, create an atmosphere quite reminiscent of Ghanaian football.
That's Patrick Akoto there, who is the Public Relations Officer at the Ghana League Clubs Association of Ghana. Ending the news here on News 360. My name is Yao Ofosulabi. Entertainment News is up next.
Entertainment News segment is brought to you by Awake Purified Drinking Water.
Good evening. It's time for entertainment here on News 360. My name is Noella. Now, this month of March, the focus is Ghana, the celebration of our rich Ghanaian culture through food, clothes, drinks, and the exploration of our tourist attractions has officially kicked off. And here on TV3, we are not being left out.
Our morning show hosts started off strong as they came clad in their indigenous clothing, showcasing some of the many different cultures in Ghana.
What were you doing exactly? I wasn't watching. What did you do?
Upper Tampa. Then I was
This was really a rehearsal ground for all three of us.
Welcome. It is Ghana month. We're out of breath. That means that we don't exercise, right?
So let me take over. Please take your breath. It's Ghana month. We have Fridays in this month. Five of them.
Yeah.
And as we always do right here on TV3 New Day, we're making sure that we have some great reflection of our traditions, but how we've also transitioned from those traditions to the modern day.
Yep. Yes, indeed. And today we're all representing different regions. Of course, we have 16 regions. We cannot represent all 16 at once. And I'm sure that as we move along, like you know we've done in the past, we will not only represent what they wear, but what they eat. I mean, basically everything about our unique cultures. And so look forward to that.
The indigenous rhythms and dance crew heavily represented the dance aspect with a cultural display inculcating movements and rich sounds from the drums and other instruments. It's a month-long celebration of our uniqueness and a call for all to explore Ghana and its richness.
On to some more stories. It's been a bittersweet feeling for Nigerian celebrities following the declaration of APC's Bola Tinubu as Nigeria's president-elect. For obvious reasons, celebrities who supported Peter Obi are not too happy. But hey, those who went all out for Bola Tinubu have been jubilating big time.
Niger has been in the trends all day. Reason is they've got a new president, Bola Tinubu, aka It Is My Turn. Well, his win has got tongues wagging. Obviously, not everyone is happy for APC's poster boy for hope. Celebs who threw their weight behind LP's Peter Obi have been licking their wounds. Veteran actor Kanayo, Iyabo Ojo, Paul Okoye of P-Square fame, amongst others, have said that all they want is a better Nigeria at the end of the day. Reacting to Tinubu's win, singer Paul Okoye of P-Square music group fame rather shared a photograph of Peter Obi and commended his efforts in the presidential race. The only man that is changing the narrative, a new Nigeria is possible, he wrote. Celebrated actress Kate Henshaw shared a picture of Obi, making it clear that she remains resolute in her support of his candidacy. Veteran actor Kanayo didn't take the loss lightly. He wrote, "I am not celebrating my birthday today because INEC sowed shame in the market. God bless you, my fans, and well wishes for your support and prayers." Of course, the avid supporters of Bola Tinubu have always been celebrating his win. In a video posted on Instagram, Nigerian actor and lawmaker Desmond Elliott congratulated Tinubu on his win. The actor was seen jubilating as his party's presidential candidate was declared the winner of the elections. Nollywood actress Eniola Badmus has also been in the news.
And that's how we wrap up on entertainment here on News 360. My name is Noella.
Rescue workers are searching for survivors after a head-on collision between two trains in central Greece killed dozens of people and left scores injured, raising questions about the country's poor track record of railway safety. At least 36 people were killed when a passenger train carrying more than 350 people collided with a freight train on Tuesday shortly before midnight in Tempe, near the city of Larissa, leaving strewn carriages and heaps of debris in its wake. The Greek Fire Service said 66 people were being treated for their injuries in hospital, with 6 in intensive care units. The country's transport minister resigned Wednesday, saying the railway system the government inherited was not up to 21st century standards. The 2 trains involved in the fatal collision were traveling on the same track for many kilometers before the incident occurred.
Well, that's how we conclude News 360 on the very first day of March 2023. Thanks very much for watching. For more news, you can log on to our website, www.3news.com. My name is Pa Kwesi Asare.
And I am Portia Gabo. Remember the documentary Make a Date at 9. No rest in peace for the dead. And also, we have Alfredo Cancer with Ghana Tonight later at 10. Have a lovely evening.
This program is rated PG. It contains scenes of brief nudity, mild violence, and strong language. Parental guidance is